almost everywhere else. We're working on that. I want to go over Sling Shot Record Breakers recap today. We did an earlier podcast today with Miranda. How do you say the last name?
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. And her hubby,
Julian.
There we go. It's great having both of them here. We went through a workout with them. We podcasted with them. Got to break some bread with them. Not literally bread, because I'm not really eating carbs right now. But we got to hang out with them basically. And they put, I basically had them go through the workout that Andrew and I have been doing for several weeks now, our back training day. And Andrew and I did a lot of lat work and a bunch of things like that. And we all went through that together. And then we did some deadlifts and then proceeded to hit up the back attack. And once we got done with the back attack, we did some T-bar row. Once the T-bar row was over with, once we knocked that shit out, then I said, hey, you guys are in charge. Pick something for us to do.
I was really nervous of that happening too, because I ate really bad last night.
And we were just in their hands. What'd you end up eating?
So, well, Smokey was pretty stoked about his performance at Sling Shot Record Breakers.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. So out there in Dublin, there's a Fuddruckers pretty close to CSA.
Hell yeah!
I had never been there, and he's happy. So he's like, "Hey guys, Fuddruckers on me." So no one said no.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really like that you have to pay to make your own hamburger. But regardless of that, I just got a big old bacon cheeseburger, bunch of fries. I didn't have soda or any sweets or anything like that, but just that alone killed me. And then Paul, our sound guy, who's fucking awesome at what he does, he had ordered onion rings and he didn't finish them. And I'm not gonna have an opportunity to have more onion rings ever in my life, so I killed some of those. And it was funny. I woke up and I'm like, man, why is my stomach hurting? It's like, oh wait, it's because I ate a lot of bad food. And then I was thinking about today's workout, and I'm like, man, I hope we don't do any kind of CrossFit-y workout. That's gonna kill me, and it killed me. But it was. I mean, shit, dude. When are we gonna have an opportunity to work out and train with some high level athletes like that?
Yeah, those are two people that both made the CrossFit Games, and people definitely know Miranda. She's been around a while. She's made it to the CrossFit Games several times. So they definitely knew how to coach too, because the point that they pushed us to was right about all you and I could really handle. I mean,
yeah, I was toast. Because did we have it on your IG story or live or anything?
I think we did a little bit of some of that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we threw it up on. I don't know. I haven't really seen anything, but
gotcha.
I know that we videoed a lot of it. We filmed the workout too.
Well, so anyway, we did burpees and then we pushed the sled again. On my last set of burpees, I ended up throwing up on rep 5 or 6. So I was trying not to spit that up in the middle of each burpee, and then I still had to push the sled. But by that point, you and I had almost caught up, or I had almost caught up to you, and we made the last stretch pretty interesting. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a full-on race.
Yeah, and you just had an extra gear that I didn't have.
It came down to the final lap. We did 5 rounds of these burpees and pushing the sled thing, and which was great because I'm always trying to think of something hard to finish with, but I don't know the stuff that they know, so I'm like, oh, let's push the sled, and I never feel like we get enough out of it. It does feel good, and yes, it gets your heart rate up, but our lungs were burning today.
Yeah.
And if we were to do one more set, I don't know, I would have been in some serious trouble. I would have had to lay down on the ground, and I don't know what would happen from there. But whatever the case is, it's I don't know, it feels good to push yourself to that point. Push yourself above and beyond what you thought you can do. And by racing and competing with somebody else, you guys were we got ahead a little bit early on, and we kind of just were able to hold on to that the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys were like nipping at our heels, and then even at the end, I think you kind of got ahead of me.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, oh shit.
in my head, my competitive spirit was going. I'm like, I know I can get Mark on the burpees. Not that I'm great at burpees,
Yeah.
but I just knew that that's where I was going to be able to make up
There's
time.
much different things going on when you're doing a burpee and I'm doing a burpee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew that you guys were going to have us on the sled pushing, and it was a team competition, and it was a I go you go. So person 1, 10 burpees, push the sled down and back. By the time you get back, then I can start my 10 burpees. So you guys got a good jump ahead of us. But I knew I was going to catch up on the burpees. I just pushing that sled. I knew I was going to die, and I was hurting bad. By like the third set, and we did 5. I was wearing it way more than you were, and I was hurting. And then I look up, and I can tell you were tired, but I can also tell you were hiding it.
Yeah.
And so that's when my whole demeanor changed also. And it's not a coincidence. That's when we started picking up ground.
Yeah, and Terrell also, he was like really encouraging you. He was like started kind of rooting for the underdog, and he's like, "You're making up ground. You're making up ground." And I was like, "Screw that!" I'm like, he ain't making up no ground. He ain't doing nothing. And I think if you were able to sprint hard all the way through, I don't know if I'd have been able to hold you off. I was dying too, and for me, at this stage in my like workout career, I do think about tomorrow. I do think about the next day. I do think about what is this going to cost me. I don't know if I want it to cost me that much. I'd rather have this be a progression towards something. But at the same time, there's nothing better than getting in a group and training as a team and against your team and against your own people. Like that's what super training has been built off of. So you can't deny that side of it. It's important to get after. It's important to throw down every once in a while and just say, you know what? Shit, man. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going through. And it's great to go through things like that because I don't know about you, but we got through that second set and I was like, ooh. People always talk about hump day, getting past Wednesday because it gets you over the hump to Thursday, Friday, and then the weekends are here, right? Well, we had our hump set, which was set number 3 is kind of the hump set, and we were only on 2, and I was dead, and I was like, man, we didn't quite get to that hump set yet. And I'm like, I'm already dying. I'm like, okay, the next one I got to kind of dog it, and then 4 I can pick it back up, and then 5 if I need to I can push into 5 a little bit.
And I was thinking, man, these goddamn food stamps don't help me out here right now.
They won't buy diapers.
No, they don't.
But I can't die. My boo-boo's about to have my baby is what's going through my mind.
But I think that ridiculous finisher of a workout, because we did a whole workout and then did that last whatever you want to call it.
As a polish off.
Yeah, I think that is actually responsible for this podcast because we both got out of it on what can only be described as like a runner's high. Like I felt amazing that it was over, and then you and I are just throwing the cornhole bags, and we're just like, I want a podcast again. Like
the sack bags.
Let's do it. Oh yeah.
I think that's what Jessica called them, right?
Eggplant bags.
Eggplant sacks. I don't know. She was gross. She's so gross. Isn't she gross?
I think because she is a female, she has to step it up to be like, yeah, I can be one of the dudes too.
So she's got to be gross.
Yeah, purpose. She has to multiply, and then also it's more effective too. Because like if I were to say that, you're just like, but if a chick says it, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like that's disgusting.
That's not okay.
The sister I never wanted.
Oh my god, my chest still hurts.
Oh yeah, I was like, so I learned a long time ago that like when you feel like you have to cough like that just the key is just not to allow it to happen. More than anything else, just try to avoid it, and you can kind of hang on. So I do have that same burn in my lungs, but I'm trying to reject the fact that I need to go.
Yeah. And then the fire smoke is not helping.
Oh my god, yeah. We tried to. I was like, oh, we'll pop open the door, and I was like, oops. That was a big mistake. I mean, there's so much fire out here in California right now that it's very smoggy and foggy outside, and it's terrifying. It's scary. I mean, I'm glad it's not near my home, but I feel for the people that it is creeping near their home, and it's a terrible thing. And you figure this day and age with all the technology and different knowledge that we have, that we just figure out a way to be able to shut those down. But I'm like, can't they just put a giant lid on it or something? Can't they just
smother it?
Yeah, can't they just can't throw a giant blanket on it or something?
Yeah, one of those fireproof blankets.
Yeah, something like that.
I
But
don't know.
there's no good solution to it, obviously. Otherwise, I don't think we would have these giant fires.
Well, like it naturally has to happen though.
I think so.
Because if not, then you get trees they grow tall and then they get old and they fall over on people.
Shit's getting dry, and I guess it's just kind of it just happens. But I
Yeah.
mean, most of these fires start with somebody doing something stupid, throwing a cigarette out or whatever the hell. Whatever the case is, it just sucks, and it's very disgusting outside. And we're not used to that here in California. Luckily for us, though, it's cold out, which kind of makes it a little nicer. The air, at least, is a little bit crisp. In Davis, it's bad too, but it's not as uh, you can't really smell it as much where I live right now. But at night, we've been popping our windows open for the last few weeks, and then we had to keep them shut more recently because the fires are just they're going bonkers right now. Something I want to share with you guys before we get into talking about Sling Shot Record Breakers and all the outstanding performances from the men, the women, and the people of Super Training Gym and the people of Combat Sports Academy. Here we go.
There's the cough.
There it is, the trend cough. Yeah, there goes Andrew. It's that old guy cough, like you can't laugh without coughing all over the place.
Yeah, I get that if I eat like really salty food, like more than like Stan Efforting salty food, but like a bunch of fries, I'll just I sound like an old man. Like,
Yeah. What is it with old guys peeing? Like they make so much noise. They're like,
I don't.
they're like clearing their throat. They're like,
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you doing? Can you just pee and shut up?
They're
like, oh, my prostate.
It was so at the meet, I ran into Jessica's dad in the bathroom. So naturally, it's like, what's up, dude? How you whatever. And he's just getting frustrated because he can't get the sink, the faucet to turn on because it's like the sensors or whatever. Right. And he's just like, you could just see he's getting old man frustrated.
And he's a big guy too, so he just breaks the whole
exactly.
sink.
Yeah. And then so I go and I wave in front of it, and it turns on. And he's like, it just makes it worse.
Just rips the whole thing right out of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with old guys and making all those noises, but it sounds like it's some sort of great relief going on with them being able to pee. But it also sounds like a very stressful situation. Oh, man. I see a lot of fat guys like leaning way down and trying to figure out where their dick is too. I noticed that happening a lot in the bathroom. The urinal is like the weirdest place, and there's unwritten man law. You don't want to be like chatting it up with somebody while you both have your dicks out. If one person has theirs out and yours is away, I think it's okay. It's okay to shout like over the thing or whatever. But
and then normally you're not really standing in the same like lineup, in the urinal, because if your D's not out, then you're kind of in the background somewhere, and then you can communicate.
Yeah, but there's like. Don't be chatting it up too much. Like it gets to be awkward in there.
Yeah, well, and here at the gym, it's pretty cool because there's just 2 stalls, right? And whenever I go in there and Smokey goes in there, he's like, "Oh, cool, someone to talk to." Or we're both taking a dump. I was like, "We don't have to talk." He's like, "No, it's fine." I'm like, "All right, cool."
Smokey's definitely strange.
Yeah, he's right.
We also have, we had the Sling Shot Record Breakers meet, and that went off amazing. A lot of great lifting going on there, and outstanding performance from a lot of our lifters, obviously, and then Slingshot Media killed it, as always. You got a lot of great pictures. We got a lot of great video, and just a tremendous weekend all around. But we also have the Super Training Classic coming up, so be on the lookout for that. The Super Training Classic will be in February, I believe.
Yeah.
I think last year it might have been in January, but anyway, it'll be in February, and be on the lookout for that. We'll start making some announcements about that, and we'll start posting, where to sign up for it and all that good stuff. And that'll be here in Sacramento. And then Kara Weston is holding a powerlifting meet in March, which a lot of the super training members are excited to do. Our boy Pig Pikolsky, he's getting fired up to compete there, and he's been ripping up some big weights. So I always try to encourage people, like, support local powerlifting, because a lot of times you hear people complain that oh, this isn't happening, in my area, and so therefore they think that they get frustrated and like, oh, there's no powerlifting in my area. It's like, well, when there was meets in your area, you never showed up, you dingbat. So make sure you get out to some of these contests and make sure that you share some of that information, or make sure you share, just make sure you share with other lifters to get their asses to powerlifting meets. Another thing I wanted to share before we dive into some of this too is I learned something from watching a lot of these athletes prepare for this meet. I learned a lot from watching these athletes compete. And it was this kind of attitude of like, you know what? You're never really out of it. I saw some lifters that were frustrated. They didn't quite get some of the lifts that they wanted throughout the day, but they hung in there the entire time and they stayed with it. Maybe they didn't get the squat that they wanted. Maybe they didn't get the bench that they wanted, but they hung around, and they did the best they could, and it still ended up with a really good total. So don't let yourself get too frustrated with what's happening. And, sometimes these powerlifting meets can be really frustrating because you want to lift more. You always want to lift more weight, but it's hard to be able to lift more weight when you're just not ready for it. You're not trained up for it quite enough. The mental side plays into it, but what I try to share with the athletes here at Super Training is the training's already done and you're already where you are. Like there's not a hype, there's not a pre-workout that you can take. There's really nothing that can be done now that's going to help you to be any stronger. There's really nothing we can do now to make you any weaker. You just are the strength that you are. The mental side of it can play into it a little bit. Like if you're just like, I don't know, if you're like fatigued or just kind of like not there, or your mind is drifting elsewhere, those can all be things that could throw you out of your game. But those are things that are just not normal. They're not. Most lifters that have performed not only in meets, but just have trained for a contest, usually on game day, they're going to show up enough to be there, to be an able-bodied person to hit the lift that they need to hit. But don't think that you need all this external stuff to get you to be like stronger. It really, if you're able to hit a 600-pound deadlift, it's because of the way you trained. It's not because someone slapped you on the back. That little rev up could be kind of normal for your ritual, but you should also understand like that doesn't make your lift. And if it's not there on game day, you shouldn't freak out about it. You shouldn't freak out about anything. You should be comfortable. You should understand that you have the strength to lift the numbers that you're going to lift for the day because of your training and not really because of a specific song they play or a specific thing they do. In training, I've always liked to choose a specific song because I get the opportunity to. You can just go to the thing and just change the music on the phone, and it's real simple, and you get to listen to whatever song you want, and you get to get hyped up. But in a contest, you can't like stop what everybody's doing and get the music that you want. And so, just realize that on game day, some of these external things that you might be used to may not be available, and also pre-workout and some of these things these strategies that you use in training, how much pre-workout you're going to take during the course of a contest. That's not great. That's not a great idea to have coffee in the morning and then pre-workout before squats. And then you eat like a hog after you squat. And then you have another pre-workout because it's time to bench, and then you bench and then you eat like shit. And then you have another pre-workout because it's time to deadlift. only use what you really need, which would be maybe a pre-workout or some caffeine or something to get you hyped for the deadlift. Like use it more for the end of the day rather than from the very beginning of the day. It's a contest, it's a competition, and you're probably most likely pretty stirred up about it anyway. Probably pretty fired up as it is. So for myself, I utilized that technique for my career. I didn't take a lot of caffeine and things like that in the morning, but as the meet progressed, if I felt like I needed a little kick, then I would utilize something. But I saw a lot of lifters, a lot of seasoned lifters that did a great job of not allowing anything to prevent them from lifting the weights the weights that they knew that they could lift, and they knew they could lift them because they've done them in training.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you take all that caffeine, you're like CNS or whatever, your body's fried by the time you actually go to get pick up the bar or whatever. And I heard Josh right here. How many milligrams of caffeine do you think you had? Like 1,000? Oh yeah, he said he had whatever smoke he had. So yeah, he probably had like 1,500 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, and you might need that because, like in training, maybe you're having quite a bit too, or you're having quite a bit throughout the day. But again, like those things, you do it once, do it twice. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but you don't really want to make that like a habit. You don't want to rely on anything external like that, because just on game day, when you come down to that last deadlift, whether you took caffeine or not is not going to be the major reason on why you're able to perform the lift. If you're tired, caffeine's not going to do a lot for you anyway. If you're tired, you probably needed more sleep or more rest somewhere along the way. But what's important for people to recognize that when you're in these tight spots and in these situations, you really want to try to work on figuring out how do you get the most from your day. And that's what I kind of saw. Like that was kind of a reflective theme of this powerlifting meet that we were at. I was watching the way everybody was lifting and the way everybody was handling themselves. And rather than just, you hear a lot of people, you say, hey man, how's it going? Like, oh man, I'm getting by. It's like, man, that's a shit attitude to have. I'm, making it through or whatever they'll say, and then some people joke about it. I'm living the dream or whatever. But you want to try to get like from your day, and you don't want to try to just get through your day. And a lot of the men and women that competed at Sling Shot Record Breakers, I saw them really extracting a lot from the day. They were getting a lot from the day because they trained for it, because they prepared for that day. And I can't think back. I tried to think back on the way home to a contest that I've been to where I've seen so many personal records. There's a lot of, all-time records and things like that broken as well. But it seemed like almost every lifter that competed did a little bit better than they did last time. There were some first-time people like Josh. Obviously, that's the best they've done since it's the only meet they've ever done. But I saw a lot of people like really squeezing the juice out of the day rather than like just falling apart here, falling apart there. Smokey ended up doing an amazing job. He ended up getting a PR squat. He ended up getting a PR in the deadlift. He ended up with a PR total. But I think sometimes when you're unpacking like what your day is going to look like and what the meet's going to look like, I think that you need to have personal bests in the squat, bench, and deadlift in order to get a better total. And that's not necessarily true, especially the longer that you do this for. For example, you might do a meet where you mainly only hit your opening attempts, and the next meet that you do, or I'm sorry, your second attempts. The next meet that you do, you might hit your second attempt, your first attempt, and your second attempt on your deadlift, and you still might improve even without any PRs, but because the weights were still close enough to your previous PRs, you end up with a PR total. So I think Smokey, when he was in prepping for this contest, he was not lifting as well as he wanted to. He thought he should have been a little bit stronger for the amount of work that he was putting in. And, he was getting pretty frustrated there for a little while, and he had some off weeks. His bench wasn't as strong as he thought it was going to be. His squat was coming around really well. His shoulder was kind of banged up. His elbow was bothering him. But you got to kind of hang in there, and you got to trust. You got to trust this process, and the process is I'm going to beat the crap out of myself for 12 weeks, and in the end, at the end of all this, the last 4 weeks of hard training is going to be brutal, and I might end up being weaker than I've ever been before, not necessarily stronger. But when I stop training, when I start to deload, when I start to back off, and the contest is getting closer, the strength is going to start to come back, and you're just going to start to accumulate. All of a sudden, you can start to feel it, like through your fingertips. You can start to feel like, oh shit, like I feel like I'm going to be really strong on contest day, and then you go and lift, and a lot of the weights end up feeling much lighter than they did in training. So if you're going through this process and you're training like, oh my God, everything feels heavy, that's very normal. It's very normal to be 3 or 4 weeks out from a competition and just feel like you're going to die.
Yeah, one thing that I when you're on the outside looking in, as far as like powerlifting or just fitness in general, you don't really realize how much emotion is actually involved in the sport. It was a little different this time around because the first time I went to to Record Breakers, which was 2 years ago, which was the first thing you ever asked me to like really take photos at. I didn't have any skin in the game. I didn't know anybody, period. And I seen how fired up people got, and I was like, damn, this is crazy. And then this time around, all the lifters that we had, I was screaming my face off. And then anytime somebody hit a big lift, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then, you hear stories about Ed Cohn always crying when somebody hits a big lift or something. When I seen Marcus, so happy to, whether it was the bench or the squat, and he came up, give you a big old hug. It felt really cool. And I never felt anything like that from just watching somebody. I mean, it's exercise, but
Yeah.
I know it's a competition, but
Andrew, are you trying to tell me that you're gay?
yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
What a way to come out. Hi, Stephanie. Andy.
It's all right.
I mean, it's okay.
I'm pretty sure they knew by now.
They knew.
We did CrossFit today.
Yeah. Yeah. What's next, right? What could be worse than that?
I mean, I don't think that's it. We're gay CrossFitters.
we definitely are now. Yeah. After that. No, it's a big deal to be there for people, and something I learned in professional wrestling. I mean, I learned a lot of amazing things from being a pro wrestler, other than like wrapping a steel chair around somebody's head, and learning how to, have the gift of gab and go in front of people and cut promos and things like that. I also learned respect. You go into a wrestling locker room, you're supposed to shake hands with everybody, but one of the best things you can do is find the biggest, baddest dude with the ugliest, nastiest look on his face and go up to him and say, hey, man, how's it going? And just shake their hand. And that's something I do at powerlifting meets. I try to go around to as many people as I can and just, say hi, shake their hand, especially people like in a warm-up room, because it's quite obvious that they're competing. Talk to them for 10 seconds. But when I was competing, before, people wanted to take selfies with me and stuff, back when nobody cared who I was, when I would go through the warm-up room, you just see all these guys like mean mugging each other and just giving these just tough guy looks. And I always just thought, like, you know what? This is so much easier for me to go over there and just say, what's up? Say, hey, man, you competing today? Like, I hope you do really well. Oh, yeah, what are some of your numbers? Oh, it's fucking sick. All right, cool. Hope to see you on the platform. I'm excited to be lifting against you today. It's going to be awesome. Just little things like that make a big difference. In pro wrestling, if you didn't do that, you would get, they call it potatoed, which is just getting the ever-living shit kicked out of you in the ring. Somebody would whoop your ass if you didn't go around and shake people's hands, especially if you're a new guy. But every single time you went into those locker rooms and those environments, you were supposed to go around and say hi to everybody every single time, even if you were from Stone Cold Steve Austin to Vince McMahon to everybody. Everybody in the whole company, everybody in the WWE does that. You even have to say hi to the Undertaker, as scary as that is to do. That's just kind of, it's part of it. But I think it's important, and I think it's important at these powerlifting meets. If you're a young lifter that's up and coming, I think you should especially be paying attention to little things like that, because it's those details that are hugely important. The other thing I learned, uh, in pro wrestling, other than just whoops, hey now, that's a great picture of Filipino Thunder right there.
That was his third set, or his third attempt.
Yeah, what did he end up hitting? He had 870, right?
870,
870-pound squat. Yeah, he was just an absolute monster on that day. The other thing I learned from professional wrestling, though, is that like you can't do these things on your own. You got to like be there for people. And so in pro wrestling, you weren't allowed to leave until the event was over. I mean, that was highly frowned upon. If you did, again, someone's going to beat your ass, and they're going to do so in the ring. People are just going to not think that you're, people are just not going to think that you're committed 100% to the process. They're going to be like, oh, well, he left. It didn't matter who you were in the pecking order. You didn't leave. You stayed all the time. And, some of our people, they got other places to be. But really what should happen on game day, whether the contest is 1 day or 2 days, people should mark off on their calendar, like, I'm screwed on those 2 days. And, you know what? Like, I don't want to be there the whole day. And I'm sure not everybody else wants to be there the entire day, but I'm going to be, because that's what you're supposed to do. And like I noticed too, like just being there for everybody, and it had a huge influence on some of the numbers that were hit that day. Marcus was right there on the spot for everybody. Jessica was there helping a lot of people. Our media team was in great communication with each other about trying to get the best picture or the best video, or follow this person or that person. And there was just a lot of great communication going on. But, watching Marcus go through those lifts, even though I just kind of preached about how you shouldn't need anything external, sometimes you do need something, and that something would probably be someone to support you and to have your back, because you need someone to watch your lifts. You need someone that's going to be honest with you. When you do a lift, you lift 500 pounds on something, and you think you have the strength to do 550, and the person that watched you lift is like, I really think 530 is more reasonable. You got to kind of let the meat go and allow the person that's helping you to help you, and allow them to kind of call the shots and say, you know what, it's actually a great option. Let me try that, and then maybe I can go heavier on the next attempt. There's a lot of strategy that goes into these meets. There's a lot of things that happen that you just aren't prepared, just not ready for. And as Marcus was building his total, he squatted 870, and then he benched 540. And then when it came to deadlifting, he's been struggling in a deadlift because he's had this kind of nagging hamstring injury going on. He's had this groin thing going on, and he really wanted badly to get a 2,000-pound total. And so he did like just a cheap opener. He did like 570 or 580 or whatever it was, and it was really easy. And he came over to me and was like, "Oh, I did it. I did 2,000." And I was like, "Yeah, that's great." And then you can kind of see me, like, when we were going back and forth with this conversation, I'd kind of like look off into the distance, and he'd kind of look at me, and I was like, "Yeah, I really think you, like, what do you got to do to like knock Dave Ziske off the board?" Because Dave Ziske used to train here, and Dave Ziske was a dick. He probably still is a dick. And I'm like, I want you to knock that guy off the board. He was a really strong lifter, but it'd be great if the lifters that are on that board are the lifters that are training here currently. And he told me, he's like, I think I need to do like 639 or something like that. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, you can easily do that. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm just, he's like, I don't want to like, this groin thing, this hamstring thing. He's like, I might, tear something. And I said, well, the good news is that it's a deadlift, and you can always just drop it if it hurts really bad. I said, the second thing that's good is that this is a powerlifting meet. And if we're going to tear shit off the bone, this is where we do it. Man. We don't do it in practice. We do it here. This is the game. This is this isn't in practice. This is game time. And if something is going to happen, like this is the spot for that to happen. And it's unfortunate that it happens and people get hurt. Last thing I want to see is him get hurt, and he knows that. And so we talked about it more. I'm like, dude, you have to put the attempt in. I said, put the attempt in. Sit around for 3 minutes and think about it. Because by the way, any lifter out there and any coach, always put your attempt in, even if you fucking fell. Even if you fell and you got wiped out and you thought you were going to die, put in your attempt. Someone can always scratch it for you later. Just because you don't know. You know how you feel at the moment. You might be terrified and you might have like smashed your finger or something weird might have happened. You might have tweaked your knee. But 2 minutes rolls by and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that's not that bad. I'm okay. Okay, I thought I really tweaked something, but I'm not that bad. It was more of an emotional and like a hormonal response to what happened than anything else. So you always put your attempt in. So he put the attempt in at 6:39, I think it was. He went out there and he got fired up and he smashed it, and it was easy. He didn't get hurt. He gets to knock Dave Ziske off the board, and mission accomplished. But that's what a coach is for. And that's what that relationship can do. Marcus does his own programming. I keep an eye on some of his bigger lifts. He'll watch me. He'll ask me. He'll say, "Hey, can you be there for my bench? Because I need you to watch and kind of give me some advice on what attempts to take and some of these different things." But he's a smart guy and he's figured out a lot. And he's figured out a lot for the members of Super Training Gym, and that's why people were so successful at Sling Shot Record Breakers. That's why nearly every person that lifted ended up getting big PRs. But it was great to kind of talk him through that process and to go back and forth and to kind of figure out a way like, how do I explain to him that he's wrong and that he has to put in this attempt? How do I explain to him that like he's going to be driving home and he's going to be kicking himself in the ass that he didn't take this attempt? I'm like, how do I convey that message without like blowing up at him, and then you have him not, do what you kind of wished he would have done. And then also training in here every day. He's got to look at that board, and then he gets to wipe the name off the squat and off the bench, but not off the total. It just doesn't make any sense. The same thing happened as we started kind of opening. We started figuring out Smokey's numbers for the day. As we started to kind of boil down towards the end, he squatted 540, he benched 407, and then he deadlifted 556. Smokey is a little bitch. I hope he's watching right now. Smokey's like, I'd be happy if I did 539. I was like 539 just, it doesn't make any sense. Again, we're at a powerlifting meet. Like, he's lifted more than that. His best is 551. So 551 would have given him a PR total, but it would have tied his PR deadlift. And so I sat there and I thought about it for a while, and they kept bugging me to put the weight in. But you don't have to put the weight in until the next round starts again. And so I had time. And I was like, no, I got time. I know the rules around here. So I was able to wait, and I'm sitting there doing the math. I keep thinking it and rethinking it, and I'm like, this gives him, with some change on it, it just gives him 1504. It puts him over 1500. I know that that's a goal. And like, this is where we roll the dice. This is the show. This is game. It's game time. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like, that's not great for him to put all this work in and then only end up with like a 4-pound PR total anyway. That's like not even acceptable. So him getting like more like a 12 or 15 pound total PR, that's actually pretty good. And so that's what we did. We put in that 556, and he actually ended up doing really well with it. He lifted it. He didn't lift it with the greatest of ease, but it did look like he could do more. It looked like he could do another 12 pounds more, 14 pounds more, something like that.
Yeah, he was surprised himself. He's just like, I didn't see that coming.
Well, that's what the deload does. That's what that's what the backing off does. The tapering, as it's called in swimming. You swim and swim and swim and swim, and you feel like your arms are going to fall off, and then you pull way back from it. Sprinters do the same thing. Sprinting and powerlifting are probably um, they're insanely related. They run parallel to each other in a lot of ways because you can only be so powerful. You can only be so fast. You can't. Usain Bolt doesn't run his best times on a track somewhere randomly. He runs his best times in the Olympics. And if he's going to pull a hamstring or tweak something, he's going to do it in the Olympics because that's the show. That's where you're doing. That's you want to try to like really push yourself. Jessica Smith also did outstanding. She ended up with a 430-pound deadlift and a 220-pound bench. I think we had her try about 230 on the bench, and she missed it. But she did awesome. And unfortunately, looks like she may have torn her meniscus in her training, and that's been banged up. And she's been trying to figure out what to do with that. She got really, really extremely upset in her training for this contest because she really was hoping to get a nice big fat PR squat, which she was definitely destined for because she was smashing some big weights. And then she was also really excited to get a PR total, but that just wasn't in the cards. You got to keep your mind in it. And so we did. I kept talking to her about it. I'm like, I've experienced almost everything you could experience in powerlifting. I've torn a bunch of muscles, I was asked today, like, hey, have you ever injured anything? And I didn't even think about those as injuries. I'm like, no, I'm fine. You got any injuries? No, I'm good. And I was like, well, I did tear a bunch of muscles. It's like, that's the price of admission into powerlifting. Like, you're going to tear some shit up when you really try to push to the extremes. It's unfortunate, but it happens to a lot of lifters. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it happened to me a bunch of times. And it's kind of par for the course in powerlifting in some ways. But you have to keep your mind in it the whole time. And so in talking to Jessica, I'm like, Jessica, I can't even explain to you like how many times I've cried, on my way home from the gym because I've missed a lift or because something hurt so bad I couldn't train the way I wanted. I'd be so frustrated that it just brought me to damn tears because I love the sport and I want to try to do the best I can. And I said, it's okay to be frustrated with it. It's okay to be sad about it. Let all that happen. Let it all blow over. You're going to be able to either bench or deadlift or maybe do both. Come game time, let's just pretend and keep training as if everything's normal and not even worry about, let's not sit around and think about the things you can't do. Let's focus in on the things you can do. And let's still go out and have a very productive contest. So she did great. The other thing that's great about Jessica is like probably in the last 2 years or so, we had her on the podcast recently. You guys should go back and listen to that podcast because it was freaking outstanding. She really had a great message and she's got a great story. But she's lost about 30 pounds over the last year and a half, 2 years. It's not very normal for someone to lose 30 pounds and still be strong and still end up with some really great PRs. We actually kind of had to me and Marcus kept on her about eating.
Yeah.
You can't really it's great that you lost all this weight, but let's not lose another 5 or 10 going into the meet. Let's just, eat a freaking pizza or eat a sandwich or something. Let's hold on to something because everything's starting to change as you get closer to the meet.
Yeah. Dinner Saturday night, he made her order 2 plates, one for now and then one to go. He's like, eat this in your hotel room. He's like, and go to bed before midnight. You got a big day tomorrow.
She's like a gremlin. She's got instructions.
Yeah. I just thought it was hilarious because, he would weigh her almost every day before going into the gym. He had a certain number, and I was like, you can't go into the gym unless you weigh this much.
That's the way you got to do it. I mean, that's what coaches do. You want to try to squeeze the most out of every single person that they can squeeze something from. The meet was really exciting, though. It was crazy to see the amount of big lifts that happened. It was crazy to see where these big lifts came from because it's I didn't know all these people that were smashing all these big weights. There was I don't know, there was a kid there that was from Reno, and he was squatting I don't know 800 something pounds, and then he ended up deadlifting 800 something pounds. He benched high fours. There was tons of strong people there.
Yeah.
Was it Chris Bridgeford? He went
Yeah.
off. He was going crazy the whole day, lifting huge weights. He almost deadlifted 900 pounds.
That's crazy.
We saw, a 1,000-pound squat attempt. I mean, we saw some wild stuff going on.
Yeah, it was really eye opening, and I just looked over at you as we're watching the chicks lift, and I was like, dude, I got to get stronger. Like, this is some bullshit because
Yeah.
the lightweight female division, I don't know whatever it's called, but I mean their openers are just killing my PRs.
Oh, the girls are like Tiny Tiff.
She doesn't count.
Yeah, she's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Would she weigh 120 pounds or something, or 98 pounds? I don't even know what she weighs. She's tiny. She's Tiny Tiff.
Yeah.
She's strong as shit. She's squatting over 300 pounds, deadlifting over 300 pounds. There's a girl there that deadlifted over 600 pounds. It was just wild. It was crazy. And there was like, the guy from Reno is only like 22 years old. There was just this one just giant lift after another. It was really fun for me to be a part of that competition and to be part of something that my friend Jesse Burdick has been putting on for a long time, and it felt good to put some money into the sport, both in just prepping for the contest itself and organizing the contest, and then in addition to that, putting up some prize money. We ended up giving out $8,000. What was her name? Christy. Help me out with the last name. Hawkins. She ended up earning $4,000 because she was just crushing all kinds of ridiculous weights. But like some of these guys didn't really look like a whole lot. They didn't really look. And even some of the girls that were hitting big weights, you're like, I'm not sure where all the strength is coming from because not everybody was crazy jacked.
Yeah. And then somebody had
that guy just squatted 688 like it was nothing. And he doesn't really look like anything. I look way more jacked than that guy. I should be able to do something.
Hey, look, it's you.
Hey.
It was really cool also seeing the kids in the meet.
There's like a 10-year-old
kid,
boy and a 10-year-old girl, right?
Right, yeah. Tyler was his name. Just smashing weights. I think he went 9 for 9.
Look at Stan Efferding was there. Ed Cohn was there. Just a good support system. Thank you to everybody that helped out with the actual contest itself in prepping for it, and all the spotters and loaders. No one got hurt that I saw. The spotters were on top of everything. The barbell never touched the floor one time, even though we had multiple 900-pound squats and also a few people going for 1,000 pounds. But yeah, it's like one guy after another was squatting 600, 700, 800, and it was crazy. It was crazy to see. And then there were so many different body types too.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the guys are small, some of the girls are tiny, some of the guys are freaking big and fat. A lot of beards and a lot of big guts.
Can blame Smokey for that one.
Mm-hmm. He made it popular.
Yeah. I think it might be. I don't know if it's the same youngster that from Reno or not, but I just remember there was like a tall, lengthy kid, and I just remember thinking like, "Whoa, he's gonna squat that," and then he just smoked it, and he wasn't even like one of the I don't want to say weaker, but less strongerest in the flight. He was like mid or even further, and I was just like, dude, like he's tall, he's lengthy, and he's just really strong, but he didn't look like he had a crazy build for it, but he got into position and he smoked every single weight that they put on the bar.
Yeah, Jesse Anderson, who's from Reno as well, they got a really strong group out there. He was squatting like mid-eights, but I've seen him squat 900 pounds when he's 19 years old.
Jeez.
Kid's a damn bull, he's so strong. And here's another guy going, like we're watching some of this video back. You can watch this on my YouTube channel, watching some of these videos. They're watching this guy, Evan Cindy Man. A 722 squat. I mean, it's just like like I said, one person after another, just crushing weights. What was really cool for me is that it's always great to see the products out there. It's always great to see a lot of the people wearing the knee wraps and a lot of people wearing the knee sleeves. But like what I like more about than just seeing that was like how routine it was for people just to pick up a hip circle. They just picked up
Yeah.
hip circles and they just started walking around all over the warm-up room, all over the parking lot. There was a guy who was on his cell phone just texting, who was doing some hips out type, knees out type of movements while he was just sitting down texting. But he's like texting and warming up at the same time. It was just it's great to see that that we built it into the culture. And I hope that one day that I do the same thing with food. I hope that, and you're starting to see it more in powerlifting, and Stan Efferding's been a big part of that. But I hope it's just so common for people to prep their meals. As we were talking to Miranda today, we asked her about a diet, and she kind of said, "Oh, eat some rice and potatoes," and then when she really thought about it, she's like, "I guess we kind of just meal prep." And we always have, good amounts of protein, and we cook a lot of our foods at home. And I think that side of things, that side of the strength community, and that side of fitness in general is just really important. Jimbo Cooper lived there. He's from Great Britain, and he ended up. I mean, this guy. This guy's a 4x4. He's 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide.
Yeah, me and Ed were down there because I was taking pictures, and Ed was head judge right there, and I was like, he's built like an H, and he thought that was so funny. He couldn't stop laughing because he's so wide.
Yeah, he's thick as a brick, man. He's a powerful guy. He had a great day. Here he is
strong.
crushing a 793-pound squat. He stays very, very upright. It's when I see some of these techniques and stuff, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could work with that guy. Because I do think that, even though he squats way more weight than I do, I still think I could help him and coach him to even a much bigger squat. Because he was forcing the weight so much into his knees, and certain lifters can do that. But he also had a wide stance, so it's like the two things don't really go together. Shove the knees forward, having a wide stance. Usually, the knees go out more when you have that wide of a stance. Somebody just said, thanks for making superior products. They ordered the Sling Shot sport sleeves, and they really love them. They just appreciate them. And, thank you. We have a lot of products here, and it gets confusing sometimes but everything that we make is for a purpose. Most of the things that have been made here have been made by myself for me. And so a lot of the things that you'll see, like the sports sleeve, was made just for convenience purposes. I was like, man, just putting these strong sleeves on all the time is kind of a pain in the ass. And even though it's a pain in the ass, it's worth it because of the protection it gives you and because of the spring it gives you. But there's other workouts that I do that I don't use as much weight. There's other workouts that I do that are mainly like kind of bodybuilding style workouts where it's more assistance movements. And I don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to wiggle into sleeves. For myself personally, I don't like anything that slows me down, that's going to pull me away from my workout. I like to, get into the workout and have a good, strong, hard workout and get the hell out of there. And so the sports sleeves work great for that purpose. They keep the area warm. They give you some light compression. They definitely do the job. So appreciate you chiming in over here.
What do you think about Emilio?
Our boy Emilio did great. I think he was frustrated with his performance, but really looking at it, he had a very staggered training cycle going into this because I think he got hurt like 3 times. So when you get hurt, it doesn't really give you a good barometer for what's going to happen. I tried to encourage him to do another meet in March, and he was kind of like, and you'll see that a lot from lifters, especially because they just did a meet. It's like a huge relief to have that monkey off your back that you just did a contest, but he really should turn it around and he should compete again. There's no question he should compete again. And I think he benched like 415 or something, or 420. That's an unacceptable bench for how strong of a guy that is. And I know he's had some injuries and stuff, but if I was in his shoes, I would compete in March, and I would perhaps only just do a bench only. So I put myself out there, I put myself on the line, and I say, you know what? I'm going to improve my bench by minimum 20 pounds. Like it's not acceptable for me to do any less, and kind of force yourself into that position. And it's November, so he can have all of December to train for, all of January, all of February, and he could probably put together some. There's Chad Wesley Smith. He could probably put together some pretty good numbers. Steve Gentile was there as well. He ended up crushing a huge squat. He squatted 804 pounds and then ended up tearing his pec on a third attempt bench press of 600 pounds. Steve has successfully benched over 600 pounds in training multiple times.
Yeah, he did it here, and he made it look not I'm gonna say so easy, but the bar moved so fast, it was scary. Everybody looked around, and we're just like, "Whoa, what was that?"
Yeah, he is a monster, and it's just it's a shame he hasn't been able to kind of put it all together. Hopefully, what he did is just a strain and not a real colossal tear that's going to really slow him down. It was great to see how far his squat has come, though, because like 2 years ago, he's not a very good squatter, and now he's been really crushing some big weights. Something that's really cool that happened. Steve never competed in powerlifting until he met me. I did a seminar at Barbell Brigade, and he happened to be there, and he was wearing a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy? This guy's huge." I was like, "Big man, what do you lift?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I can do over 500." I was like, "You could do over 500?" I was like any day of the week. He's like, "Yeah, pretty much." I was like, "Shit, you mind doing it in front of everybody? I think I would hype everybody up." And he was like, "Sure." And so he benched in front of everybody, and I think he tried like 550 that day and missed it. But he ended up hitting 525, and everybody got hyped as hell. So it was just really cool. He was at the seminar. He happened to just to show up there with Adam Rodriguez, our buddy Hulk Smash, and it's stories like that. It's like things like that that keep me so connected to the sport, and it's awesome. Andrew Herbert, like what's going on with that guy? That guy's
He's
huge.
so freakish.
He's so jacked.
Yeah.
You can't really tell how jacked he is. He wears a lot of like kind of bigger stuff, but when he's getting ready for the deadlift, you're like, "Oh my God, that guy's huge," because he just has his singlet on and he's got like the straps down. His back is enormous. His lats are just huge. I think he has like a collegiate wrestling background or something because he's got kind of the gnarly ears.
Yeah. Kind of like a stocky, like upper body build almost.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of has a short torso. But
Right.
I was disappointed because it looked like he was going to hit an 837-pound squat, and he just couldn't quite pull it out. I would have loved to see him get that because that would have been an all-time world record, and I would have been able to stick 1,000 pounds in his pocket.
Yeah.
Tony Montgomery was another lifter that was there who's a coach as well. Tony has his own gym up in Washington, or in Oregon, I think. And Tony has lifted with Jesse Burdick. He's lifted here at Super Training Gym. He's lifted under the tutelage of Chris Duffin. So he's somebody that knows what's up, and he was doing really well. He benched over 5 and squatted high 7s, and I don't remember the deadlift, but I'm sure he deadlifted around 700 pounds as well.
How cool was it when Marcus's opener? I don't know what it was, but he went down and up so fast, the whole crowd, whoa!
That was great. The crowd, like, man, think about how impressive that is. There's a lot of great lifters there, and I don't recall them doing that, except for when we got to the deadlift and Jeremy smashed that 804 deadlift, right? But
yeah.
Up until that point, the first time they did that was when Marcus hit a squat, where people were like, "Whoa, that was different."
It just set the tone, and you can see it in his demeanor. He's like, "Oh, this shit's mine." It was so. That was really cool.
It's great to see stuff like that. It almost looks like somebody's like just doing a different sport. When you watch somebody who's really like magical at what they do, they're really gifted at what they do, and they just have it down to a science. And it's really fun to watch. It's almost like an art form in a way. But yeah, he was on point with everything. He crushed all his squats. He crushed all his benches. And he ended up making both of his deadlifts. He just passed on his third attempt deadlift. hmm Who the hell else was lifting at this feat? Yeah, Jeremy Avila lifted, and Jeremy had a great performance. But he ended up he was a little banged up going into the meet, so he couldn't do some of the lifts that he wanted to do.
And does he normally lift at 198?
He does both. He lifts at 198 and 220.
Hmm.
Um, but he was going into the meet with an injury, hamstring, groin kind of thing. A lot of lifters get that, and it's a tough one. It sometimes takes a year to get rid of that thing. It'd just be a nasty sucker in there, and you just can't figure out what to do with it. The only thing you can do for it is a stretch and have people work on it, and then in addition to that, you have to. And there's that big old squat. I mean, that's ridiculous. And in addition to that, you have to lay off, the heavy lifting, which is the hardest thing for all of us to do. Nobody wants to do that. We want to lift heavy all the time, and we want to kick some ass.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to watch the entire Sling Shot Record Breakers meet, it's on Mark Bell's Sling Shot YouTube. It's still Super Training 06.
You can probably get to it both ways.
Both ways, my bad. I should know that.
I think it's just if you just type in Mark Bell Slingshot on YouTube,
You'll find it.
Pop up, or type in Mark Bell. All these things will pop up, and you'll see my channel there, and you can watch all this stuff.
So we got both days 1 and 2 already up there from the live stream.
This
over
is the
weekend.
big boy up there, Jesse Anderson, the guy that I told you he squatted over 900 pounds at 19. He was doing okay. He didn't have a stellar meet, but he's gone through a lot of different things. Like he's been some different sizes. He's gained some weight. He's lost some weight. Gained some weight back again. And it's kind of hard to like reestablish your strength when you start to mess around with your body size. It takes some time. But one of the reasons why powerlifters are so big, some of these guys are so large, is kind of it takes mass to move mass. In a lot of cases. Some of the other smaller lifters, they end up with good leverages because of good practices in the squat, good practices in the bench or deadlift, and they end up with good leverage in the lift that they kind of become an expert in. But it takes decades to build up this kind of strength. It was just all in all, it was a great weekend, and it was something I was excited to be a part of, and I was just thoroughly shocked with how strong everybody was. Even though I've been to meets before, I've seen people lift heavy stuff before, but it never ceases to amaze me how strong people are.
Yeah, someone on Instagram was just saying how it was really cool that we streamed the entire thing, and they say that that's how you're gonna make the world a better place to lift, basically, because we're putting it out there and showing how cool this shit is. And it was funny, Marcus, dinner Saturday night, he had mentioned, he's like, man, if we had social media back when I started, he's like, I would have been way stronger. He's like, because the only method to like really like, okay, what's the benchmark? He's like, I just had to look up world records, and then looked at my lifting, and I figured, oh, I'm not too far away from that. He's like, and then all of a sudden everyone gets on social media, and now it's like, oh my gosh, like these kids are going crazy. So I think doing stuff like this, like having the meet streamed and having people watch it, it's gonna make the sport just blow up.
It gets out to more people, and it causes more competition. More people watch it, and they go, oh, maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't think they can lift the same weights as some of the big boys on here, but they quickly start to realize that they can kind of be part of this community because they saw a smaller girl lift, or a smaller guy lift, or an older guy or older girl. That's what was great about this event, is it's a good mix of professional lifters that have been doing it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and also people that have never competed before. They all get to share the platform. And then on top of that, you got legends like Ed Cohn walking around supporting people. The guy's name, who's the young kid that was going absolutely bonkers with the big weights, his name was Jeremy Olson. He's from Nevada. He trains with the guys over there in Reno, and they've been utilizing this weird machine that hopefully we'll get here at Super Training. It allows you to handle more weight on the eccentric portion of the lift. And here goes Marcus with the 848-pound squat that he absolutely murdered too. I mean, he's just smashed that. It looks so easy. But yeah, this guy came up to me and he has a gymnastic background. He was telling me about this machine, and I get this stuff all the time. People always come up to me with these dumb inventions. Uh, but this guy it was pretty intriguing. He basically said that a lot of the guys out in Reno are using this machine right now. It's something that you can hook to weights. I didn't really understand what he was talking about. Um, I haven't had a chance to really look into it yet, but he's going to come out here and show us how to use this machine. But he said in training, a lot of these guys were squatting and they were handling, 1,050 or like 1,100 pounds at the top of the lift. Then they would go down very slowly. And then when it explode up, it would register as like 900 pounds. So almost like the weight releasers that we have,
Yeah.
but like an electric way of doing that. Probably a much smoother way of kind of almost performing the same thing. And it sounded crazy, but I was like, wow, shit, if it works the way you're saying it works, then it would definitely work. And maybe that's part of the reason why some of those guys in Reno are so strong. I'm sure there's a bunch of other reasons too.
It's kind of but the same principles as a slingshot.
Well, a slingshot will allow you to overload. Slingshot will allow you to handle more weight. So yeah, in a lot of ways it is. So back to squat up again. This is actually a really interesting
I'm gonna
squat.
try to. This is such a big.
Yeah, big old file. I should analyze this in its own separate video, because if you look at his first squat and his last squat, they're identical. The second squat, he did something different. Maybe he thought he was on the board already and he really needed that squat, so maybe he was actually a little more anxious for it. And this one, he had to kind of rev up. Ed Cohn and I talked about this lift, and a lot of strategy went into this number too. Ed said if you give him 865 or anything lower than that, he says he might not push into it the way he needs to. He's like, give him a heavier weight, give him the 870, make him like really push into it hard. He's like, he'll probably do it easy, and that's exactly what happened. Ed's really good at calling numbers. You see Ed's the head judge, and he's there yelling and cheering for him. But watch how Marcus goes forward and dips on his knees a little bit at the very bottom, which that's the exact same thing he did on the first lift. And for some reason, it didn't happen quite as much on the second, but he got the perfect rebound out of that. And that's really hard to do, especially with that amount of weight. That's an insane amount of weight. And he just nailed it just perfectly. I like how he's smiling halfway through the lift because he knew
he got it.
He just knew that he smashed the weight.
Yeah, I was able to get some really cool pictures of that. But I'd never, obviously I'm not going to pay attention to anything like that you're going to see, but I never actually noticed him swaying like that forward and then whoop.
Yeah, the knees are traveling forward, quite a bit. And what you're doing is you're pushing into the knee wrap. And when the knee wraps are on tight and when you have good, strong, durable knee wraps from markbellslingshot.com, those are the gangster wraps. You're able to spring out of the bottom. That's why people like using knee wraps so much. There's a lot of chalk on his back.
Every time I'd walk by the chalkboard, I'd inhale so much chalk, and then my lenses would get all filthy.
Yeah, can you imagine how much of that shit is like inside of our lungs all the time?
Can't be any worse than the fires, though.
Or the farts.
Those bathrooms.
Oh, I know.
It just smelled like test and shit.
Yep. Yeah, it smells like balls and poop.
Yeah.
We got some bad news, and you probably already heard of this, but Stan Lee has passed. Stan Lee has died, and some people messaged me over here on Instagram, and it sucks that he's gone, but one thing I would say is that man, that guy really poured a lot and really shared a lot of himself. So it's not like he'll be erased from the planet. All of his work is still here. And who doesn't admire Stan Lee? And how many times did you laugh and get excited when you saw him in his own film? You're like, oh, there he was. You elbow your buddy in the chest, because you're pumped.
Yeah, I remember the first time telling Stephanie, like, hey, that's Stan Lee. She's like, well, who's that? I'm like, he's the reason this all exists.
Yeah, and it's weird because you're like, wait, what? One guy did this?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, like one guy.
Yeah, and I told, when we first started hanging out, like that's what I want. Once I'm off this planet, I want my work to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's what
you
he's
want
doing.
it to exist in some way, right?
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen with his work. But that sucks. Yeah, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that he
Yeah,
passed.
my brother had an opportunity to interview him for Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and he just said he was so much fun.
Mm.
You know, he just said he was super cool. And my brother asked him, he's like, "Were you inspired by those old ads where the guy got kicked in the guy got sand kicked in his face, and that kind of stuff? You know, the Muscle Beach ads." And he goes, "Who wasn't inspired by that?" He's like, "I always wanted bigger, stronger muscles." And he talks about that a lot in Bigger, Stronger, Faster. He's a pretty quick segment in the movie, but um, yeah, my brother's just like he's what you'd expect. He's like he's full of like he was full of a bunch of jokes and stuff like that. And I was like, that's super cool. I'm sure like the guys had a, you know, like I said, it always sucks when people die, but I think he was very old.
Yeah, he was 95. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was 95. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like what more could a person do in their life? I hope I lived to 95. That'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be a great time to check out.
Dang. Yeah, I had no clue. I have no idea that he was that old.
Yeah, he was old. He was an oldie but a goodie.
I had a question on the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think 1 or 2 weeks for deload?
It depends on the size of the athlete and the strength of the athlete. If you are a kind of a pro, you're a seasoned veteran and you're extremely strong and you're a bigger guy, you're 240 plus, then you might need a pretty long time. But it's my understanding that a lot of the deloading principles have been kind of wrong for a while. You're actually supposed to take some of your heavier lifts a little bit closer to the contest, and you're also supposed to deload, like, let's say that a meet is 3 weeks away. Uh, the first week one, let's say the third week is the actual contest, and so 2 weeks away from game day, you would hit like 95% or maybe 100% almost of your max. You would hit a real big squat right there, and then the next week you would taper back down. And then some people are suggesting now that you kind of ramp it back up, so it would look like 95, and then it'd be like 85, and then it would be like 98 or something like that. So you'd go hard one week, the next week you would back off a little bit, and that last week before you have almost an entire week off, you would really, really push the envelope and really push really hard. There's a lot of different thought processes in all this, but there's you have a certain, and it sounds weird, but this is what it's called. You have a certain just fitness level, and you can lose your fitness level, which in this case is your strength. You can lose it very quickly, and so you have to be kind of cautious. If you kind of meander around as the meet gets closer, you'll find yourself oftentimes getting a lot weaker. It depends on the style of training that you do too. So some people will have an extremely high frequency in their training. And if you're somebody that's used to high frequency, which is just the amount of times that you work out, the amount of times that you squat per week and things like that, well, then there's so many other things to alter. So if you train, let's say you squat 3 times a week, and there's some monsters out there that do things like this, like Chad Wesley Smith and other guys. But if you squat 3 times a week, well, now you have a lot more variables to change rather than just the weight. Whereas somebody who squats once a week, the only variable they're really going to change is the weight. So the week before the contest, they may back off the amount of weight that they lifted. Whereas somebody who squats very often, they're actually just gonna keep lifting heavy all the way through, because they do what is called spreading out fatigue. They spread out their volume, they spread out their intensity, because the frequency is high. So because they train 3 times a week, everything might be like 80% across the board. They might squat 80% 3 times a week, or it might be like 80, 75, 82. Like it might kind of wave around, but because they do that, they'll just train right through to the contest. Maybe take like a week off at most, maybe 4 days, 3 days, and they lift like animals. And like Lane Norton does that. Lane Norton would travel to like Ireland and compete, and he would set it up that he would get there on a certain day because he would still do like his last heavy squat. He'd squat like 600 or 630 or something for a few sets of singles. And then there he was 3 days later on the platform, squatting 670 or whatever the number was that he did. So it's just different for different people. But the basics of it are, if you're in good shape, you don't need as much of a taper. If you need any taper at all, and if you are in shitty shape and you're big and fat, then you need a longer time to rest.
You always had a plan going in, though, right? Like you weren't trying to wing it, or did you do that early on?
I always had a plan, in terms of like the weights that I wanted to lift. I always had a plan in terms of like scheduling of workouts and things. But I did a lot of stuff by feel. I just like would feel it out. Like it's not that much different than the way we're working out now. Like I just have been somebody who just always kind of did, and it's not because I'm it's not because I'm like a lifting savant or anything like that. It's just because I've been lifting for a long time, so I know the feel. I remember like I would do a squat, and then I would just like start to take everything off, and everybody like, "Oh shit, like, are you pissed?" And I was like, "Nah, just I'm like, I don't know, like, there's just something's just off. Like the timing's off. There's something's wrong. Something's, And so then I would kind of analyze it and say, okay, well, the sensation that I have is really important. Like I can't unrack the weight and doubt myself. Like that's not going to work. But I also knew that wasn't a good idea to keep training that way. So I would sometimes just call it, which was the hardest thing ever to do. And those were the days where I'd kind of be upset because I was frustrated on this doesn't make any sense. Like I'm getting stronger every week, but this kind of thing happens. But these things happen because your body just starts to get worn down so much from the big lifts that you're lifting, and there's nothing that you can do except for just relax and not train. But you don't want to relax and not train because you have a contest in 3 weeks. So you're like, I just want to keep lifting. And you go to on rack, 500 pounds, and it feels like 900 pounds. And you're like, oh my God, I'm really in a lot of trouble right here. So I'd always kind of like analyze where I was at. And for me, most of the time when it came to like prepping for a contest, I would back off for like a week a lot of times, and that would be it. But I almost trained like through it. I didn't really worry about any of the science of it. I wanted to feel a certain way, and I wanted to have good timing with everything. Those of you guys that are following along with Operation Get Less Fatterist, I need to put a video out for you guys. Been tied up with a few things. I will get a video out hopefully tomorrow. I will get a video out tomorrow. How about I don't say hopefully? How about I just shut up and do it, right? And I'm moving over to a keto diet. So you guys saw me in Operation Get Less Fatterist move through a few different forms of dieting. The first diet was just kind of teaching you not how to get any fatter, and it was teaching you about healthy food choices. The second portion of the diet was the vertical diet. We went through that together, where we were eating rice and bison and red meats and potatoes and eggs and things like that. And now I'm shifting into a ketogenic diet, and I'll probably ride this ketogenic diet through Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving itself will probably be a cheat day. I'll make a post about this tomorrow, as I said, so kind of bear with me. Follow along at Operation Get Less Fatterist so you can get all your information there and stay up to date. It's on Facebook. And, part of the reason why I decided to do this in the first place was because I didn't want to let myself slip, and I don't want to see you guys slipping. I really and truly, you guys may think this and that about different posts I make and different things that I say, but I honestly and truly, in my heart, I want to make the world a better place to lift. I want it to be so common about lifting and food that it's just a very normal thing for people to do, and it's no longer like this heartache. It's no longer this strong mental block. I want to make such an impact on people to where you see more people walking around with their food. You hear more people talking about it. I would like for people to be empowered with knowledge. And it's the knowledge to say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to be a loser anymore. I'm not going to be the person I was yesterday. being a loser has nothing to do with your finances. Being a loser has to do with you talking about shit that you're not ever going to actually follow through with. Embrace your dreams. Embrace the dreams that you have. Embrace the things that are going on in your life, and just you are where you are because that's where you got to. You are where you are because you're a byproduct of all the things that have kind of happened to you. When I say embrace your fears and follow through with your dreams, embrace your fears and follow through with your dreams, that means just that. What are the things that you're scared to do, and why are you scared to do them? Why are you scared to make a change? Um, Les Brown is the one who said this one, and I really love it. Ducking's going to hurt too.
Hmm.
Think about that. Like, ducking's going to hurt too. Like, he's right. Ducking's going to hurt. And, if you duck against something that's ferocious and tenacious, guess what happens when you just ducked? When you stand back up, you're going to get punched in the face again. And the answer isn't to put your hands and your knee up and ball in the corner. The answer is to make a fist. And the answer is to have the confidence to fight back, throw those punches back. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to fail either. Don't be afraid to try and mess up. And and just give yourself a slap on the wrist. Um, give yourself a slap on the wrist, but don't slice your wrists. Don't beat yourself up so bad about these situations where, oh man, I was on a diet and then I can't do it, man. Like I don't know, I tried it for like 3 days and then it was too hard and then I stopped and then I'm just gonna stop talking about it so nobody asks me about it anymore. I'm just gonna sweep it under the rug and I don't have to ever worry about it again. And no one will ever bring it up and we don't have to go through that again. Stop doing that to yourself. Start making better decisions. Start making better choices. Don't be paralyzed by the word consistency because it can be scary when somebody's like, "Oh man, well you can't do anything unless you're consistent." Well, that puts you right out of the race right away because you already know that you're not consistent. Something we just talked about on the last podcast with Miranda, and this was amazing, and I actually wrote it down. So this is an amazing observation. This is outstanding. She kind of has observed that people don't mind being stuck in something so that they can use that. Let's say, Andrew, that you had 3 kids, right? You got your daughter Jasmine now doing dance, and let's say you had 2 other kids playing softball, right? Well, it's very easy for Andrew to come in and, hey, Andrew, like, how's the diet going, bud? Like, things going good? Well, I took Jasmine to dance, and then,
Mhm.
we ended up going to those softball, games, and I was there, and had a hot dog, and oh, well, that's okay, Andrew. Like, you know what? Well, we can get back on track today, and well, there's another game, and then it's her birthday, and then it's her friends having a party at our house because their family doesn't have that much money, and we invited them over, and so I'm probably gonna have some cake. And it's like all these crazy things. It's like, whoa, like why did you throw up such a roadblock on yourself? Why did you just do that? But it's easier for you to be stuck. You're the dad. You're the guy that's, man, I'm going to be shuttling these kids all around. It's easier for you to stay stuck there than it is for you to take some giant leap towards anything else. And the reason why people stay stuck is because they know that if they stay stuck there, they don't have to do other shit. If I'm a bodybuilder, I'm the guy walking around with a big giant bag that's got all my gym stuff in it. It's got all my food. I got the gallon of water.
Mhm.
I have the baggy bodybuilding pants, the stringer tank top, the gallon of water, and I'm that guy. Everything's all shaved up all the time, right? I'm always tan, if not red, right? Well, I can stay stuck there, and it's okay because everybody else will just let me. It'll just be okay. I'll be accepted by everybody else. I don't have to ever make any progress in my life anywhere. All I got to do, all I'm responsible for, because I'm the bodybuilder guy, is being jacked. That's all I got to do. All I got to do is show up to the gym, have some consistency at the gym, have some pretty big biceps, some good shoulders, take some shit, look the part, And I'll just, I'm just going to be a trainer. I'm just going to train people. Now, there's nothing wrong with training people, but to just leave it at that and to not expand, that is a problem.
Yeah, but I was going to say, you don't even have to have big calves.
You don't even need to have big calves. Ask Larry Wheels. Roasted!
Shots fired.
Shots fired. As Larry Wheels comes here, rips my arms off my body, and beats me over my head with my own arms.
This is now called Larry Wheels Power Project. Mm-hmm. Welcome, everybody.
He just comes in here and eats all the slingshots and shits them out. But, it's very common for people to kind of get stuck in these different patterns, and it's part of the reason why I'm so excited to share about strength, share about fitness, share anything that I can, diet-wise, or freaking go on a walk. There's people that this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. I never expected any of this. I knew lifting-wise that by me lifting heavy stuff that it would excite other people that lift, but I never knew that through this process of lifting and I guess sharing this message of like, hey, if you can lift this heavy stuff, there's other heavy things you can lift in your life, and you can lift a lot of people. I never expected to get a lot of messages from people that don't even work out. I never really saw that one coming. That was kind of different, and I think it's great. It's great that people are getting the message. But if I could share, something with somebody, it's like just try to get going on one thing. I know what it will do for you, and that's why I get so excited about it. Like I just want everybody else to feel the way that we're feeling. Like the energy that you felt at this meet. You wouldn't have felt that energy if you were just a photographer from a different facility or a different gym or just a freelance photographer. Mm-hmm. You felt that because you're connected to the people here. And you're like, you're like, shit, this is my team. Like you get like teary-eyed.
Oh, absolutely.
Like these are my, and I got totally teary-eyed when Marcus hit his squat and when Smokey hit his deadlift. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it's super emotional and it feels good, but you're like, this is what I'm part of. Like this is why we're here at whatever the hell time it is right now, doing a podcast. We should have went the hell home a long time ago.
We should have. Well, it was funny because I was going to work on a bunch of photos from the meet to try to get those out as soon as possible, and we were just joking around like, hey, we should podcast some more, and I was just so excited to hop on here and talk about the meet. Because even seeing Josh, it was his first meet. I don't remember exactly the numbers he hit. He hit some big numbers, but I kind of lost my voice screaming for him, and it was cool because he was like, because we were chatting at dinner, and he was like, yeah, I heard Andrew. He's like, I heard it. I couldn't really hear anybody else but him, and I was like, fuck yeah, like that's what I didn't want that to just happen, but like I'm glad he felt that because granted I was the closest person to everybody because I was taking pictures and I was. Man. Yeah,
well, you want everybody to like I just said, you want everybody to feel the same.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard because, we got some monsters in here. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy for all of us to get hyped up for when the monsters lift.
Yeah.
But when for someone newer lifts, like maybe they're not getting as much cheering. Maybe the music's not getting turned up, like maybe all these other things aren't happening. And it's kind of like, it's kind of there's kind of a hierarchy to everything, right? There's a ranking system to everything, and that's just the way life is. But at the same time, if you can just invest something in somebody and just scream for them, that ain't so hard to do, and it doesn't really cost you anything. So, having an environment like this, like Super Training Gym or Combat Sports Academy, there's plenty of powerlifting gyms for you guys to choose from throughout the country. And I know a lot of people will try to say, oh, there's no powerlifting in my area. Well, I don't know if you look that hard, stop driving by that gym that that you want to go to. I've done all these things. It's the reason why I know about it. It's the reason why I know about, trying to hide in a corner and not be noticed, not be recognized. I know about all these things because I've done all these things. That gym that you keep driving past where you're like, oh, I think they have powerlifting, but I'm not sure. And you just get out of your car and you kind of peek and you're like, oh, looks like no one's here. And you get back in your car and you leave so you can go tell your girlfriend that you did check it out, but there was nobody there. It didn't look like.
Yeah, you build the obstacles so high that you kind of set yourself up for failure.
And it's like what you didn't tell her is that you showed up there when you knew they were closed. You're like, oh, no one there. Ain't got to train. Whoops.
Oh man, I still remember the first time I went to like an actual commercial gym. I was super nervous. I look over at Stephanie. I'm like, "What are we doing here? Let's go home." And luckily she's more badass than me, and we went inside and started training. But somebody had a question about getting a little bit less fatterist. Oh shit, where'd it go?
Less fatters.
Yeah, well, he's actually doing his first bodybuilding show. Has a cool name, No Neck Gang on YouTube. Went from 290 to 240 in about 6 months. His show is in March 2019. At what point should he start cutting weight? Or just keep going?
He wants to cut weight to do a
Bodybuilding show.
bodybuilding
Yeah.
show. Well, so normal prep for bodybuilding show is usually like 12 weeks. So we got about 3 months. It depends on how lean he is right now. Being 290 is pretty big, and normally people aren't that lean at 290. So what my suggestion would be, you may need to lose weight first. Did he say he signed up for a bodybuilding show already?
Yeah, he said he has it in March.
Oh, he has it in March. Okay, so he did now. Yeah, now. Well, he definitely wants to start dieting through the holidays, because that can be the one factor that can really throw everything off. He can use the holidays as like half day cheats, where he eats really well in the beginning of the day, gets some of his cardio done, and then at 4 p.m. or something, he just kind of allows himself to eat whatever he'd like. There's going to be some of that I'm going to be doing for the holidays myself. I'll be probably utilizing some intermittent fasting. Might have a day where I just say, okay, well, 4 p.m. rolls around, I'm just going to kind of eat whatever. And that way I get to enjoy whatever foods are there. I'm going to Bodega Bay, so maybe I can run some hills or walk some hills or move around a bunch to where I burn up a bunch of extra sugar and extra calories, and then I can kind of earn it. My wife and I already talked about, look, we're not going to even talk about training. You're just going to do it every day, 8 a.m. We're just going to figure out some sort of workout for the day. Not going to overthink it. Just going to make sure it happens, and hopefully the rest of the family joins in too. And let's not even say, oh, when are we going to work out today? Because then it's going to get pushed and pushed. Then we're going to eat a bunch of food, and no one's going to want to train. So 8 o'clock is reasonable time. We always wake up much earlier than that anyway, whether we're on vacation or not, and just keep moving.
That's going to be great. Yeah, I saw her in the gym today.
Oh yeah, she's out there training. Yeah, we're getting ready for those hills.
Prepping, yeah. What do you think I should do? Should I join you on your keto journey? Or?
I think that you should. I think that you should join in, and you don't have to go out of your way to like eat weird, crazy foods, but I think that you should drop the carbs out a little bit. Try to go after a little bit higher fat foods. You got like eggs and cheese and bacon, and you've done some ketoing before. You've done some keto stuff before, and anybody that's looking to join in on this, if they're looking for a book, just so happens I have one. It's called The War on Carbs. I've also done a War on Carbs podcast before, where I really walked you through the entire process. So you can go on markbellslingshot.com and you can check out The War on Carbs. I think it's like $25. You can also buy it on Amazon. I think it's only $20 there. Kind of an easier decision. But if you're already picking up stuff from Slingshot, you might as well pick up the War on Carbs book. We sell Keto Pro. We have Slingshot Protein. Slingshot Protein is a hydrolyzed whey that mixes up really thin, easy to digest. It's lactose free. And then in addition to that, we also have Keto Pro, which is also made with the same hydrolyzed protein, but it has a good amount of fat in it. It has some MCT in it, and that's a great product. It's the first product to market that is a ketogenic style protein powder. So it tastes really good. You throw a little bit of heavy cream in there.
It's so good with that.
Yeah, blend it up with some ice or what, just you kind of need these tricks when you're on these diets. The only sugar that I have, only carbs I really have, is occasionally just from some yogurt. I have some full fat yogurt, but it's just a plain yogurt. Not everyone likes plain yogurt because it has a real tart flavor to it. but that's right now. And then, we nearly died in our workout today, so I ate half of a one of those little rice rolls, and
Mhm.
I had a little thing of Gatorade because I was like, this is not going well for me. I'm like, I can't see, and we're in a meeting right now, and I can't hear either, and I need to be coherent because Smokey's saying a bunch of shit to me that's important. And so, yeah.
I thought that was just me. I was talking to Terrell for a while, and I couldn't hear out of my left ear the entire time. I'm a little worried though, because I just like right now, like just doing vertical diet, I can get pretty full off of meat and rice.
Hmm.
I don't know what I'm just thinking in my head, what I'm gonna be eating now, like meal prep wise,
Meat.
just more meat.
You can have meat, and you can have get some vegetables and things like that. Andy Bell is telling me to get my butt home, and don't worry, Andy Bell, I will get my butt home. Just a couple of minutes. Um, but yeah, just if you feel like you need some substance with it, I know you said
Yeah.
you kind of liked peppers, so maybe like you could eat the peppers raw, but you can also you can cook them into the meal. It gives it a lot more flavor. Um, Another option too is like a lot of times a lot of us eat like ground beef and things like that. Bring some cheese here and melt a little bit of cheese over top of it. Can you handle cheese pretty decently?
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, just I mean shit, it adds a lot of flavor to it. It adds calcium to it, so it's not like it's unhealthy for us and stuff. So, those things like that are good options, but really you don't have a lot of options other than just mainly meat and vegetables. And then there's some room for fruit. So like if you wanted to have some blueberries or blackberries, or an apple, um, all those things are excellent options. To have like a banana. Now, going to be people that are in an uproar and like, oh, you'll never, you won't be ketogenic or whatever. I don't, I'm just saying keto, but it's not really necessarily a full-fledged ketogenic diet. There's just no you're not going out of your way to eat carbohydrates except for in the case of maybe having a little bit of fruit and also through some of the vegetables. But the fruit is more like, yeah, you know what? I want to kind of end a day with something a little bit sweet. And an apple's just super convenient to eat. So a lot of eggs. Um, any form of meat is fair game. Although anything from salmon to any forms of steak, ribeyes are really good. They have just a ton of fat on them. They're amazing, and you can also if you cook your ribeyes, you got to get them. You got to get them like kind of like a medium because they have fat on them. If they're medium rare, unless somebody really knows what they're doing, they're not going to taste great. But bone broth is a good option. Even just like soup. Like I have some keto books too. I can bring you from the Emmerichs. They
Oh,
uh,
cool.
they pop back on ruled.me. A lot of great
Oh, that's
information over
right.
there. That guy's got a lot of great info, and don't be afraid to cook up a keto bomb or something like that, or make some of these different things just to keep you excited about it.
Yeah, my first thought was the Quest pizza.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'll eat the whole thing, not just one serving.
Yeah, I don't think the Quest pizza fits into the ketogenic pizza, but I had one the other day that had a sausage crust, and it was actually really good. I don't remember what company that was. My brother had
Mm.
those sent over to me. Fathead pizza.
Yeah, I can make that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All
Yeah,
right.
Fathead pizza is like a decent. It's a good like I didn't really use it as a meal. I would use it like I'd eat something with it.
Yeah.
You
No,
know.
I'm smart enough now to understand that like that's not like
Yeah.
okay to like I can't like oh it's okay because I'm keto.
Yeah, and it's just not. It's like it's just not a great practice because it's just not great for like your stomach and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not that it's bad. It's it doesn't really matter a ton.
Yeah.
But everything matters at least a little bit. So
Hmm.
you want to try to just hit yourself with some nutritious foods. The other thing I've been doing, and I don't know if you want to mess around with this at all, but I've been also during our workouts I've been fasted for today. I didn't fast because things got screwed up this morning, so I ended up having breakfast. But for most of the other workouts, I've been kind kind of in a fasted state. And that was really to try to reduce the amount of times I was eating per day, because I was probably eating 5, 6, 7 times a day. And I was like, you know what? Probably only need to eat like 4 or 5 times a day. And so that was kind of the goal there. But I try to eat every day at like at 8, 12, 4 and 7. 8, 12, 4 and 7. 8, 12, 4 and 7. Just like clockwork every day. I try to at least get close to that pattern. And then lastly, not eating too close to bed has been something that's helped me a lot. Although I haven't been doing that great of a job of it, so I have to really stay on point. There's been a few days where I've nailed it just right, and I'm like, boom, I'm out. And then I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter that much. I'll just have some food, and it screws me up.
Yeah.
So that's made a big difference.
Cool cheat code that I have is I can tell Stephanie, like, hey, we're going to start doing a little keto-ish diet, and she's super down for it.
That's awesome.
I know, it's huge. And then obviously having you, but yeah, it's such a, I don't know, man. There's like zero excuse for me to not be able to follow it.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, have fun with it. Like maybe even join one of these like keto box things. Like I just saw that Onnit has one.
Yeah, it looks good.
These things they're expensive, but like it's just a little side perk. It's a little thing to get you pumped.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
and especially for like a short time that we're going to be doing it.
Yeah. It's for a month. Like I went online and bought some different bars and stuff that have the keto products and stuff. But like, I don't know how much of that I'm going to eat. I'm not going to be like shoveling that down all day. That's not my main source of food. But it's just like, yeah, I want something that excites me. I want something that kind of tricks me into, thinking that it's not as hard as it really is, I guess, is the main thing.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna hop on out of here. I'm getting hungry. I'm sure Andrew's getting hungry, but we love doing this. We love doing the show. We appreciate our listeners. We appreciate our fans. Keep spreading the word. Keep telling people. If you're enjoying the show, keep telling people over and over again about it. Tell them about Mark Bell's Power Project. Send them over here to us. We'll straighten them out. We'll kick their ass, and we'll get them in line. Leave us some reviews on iTunes as well. We're on iTunes. We're on YouTube. We're normally live on YouTube, and we normally play from 11 to 3 or so in that range.
Yeah, somewhere just in the middle of your workday, we're going to be on.
Yeah. So we're going to be on here a lot. Andrew and I are kicking around some ideas of doing something kind of event-based with the Power Project possibly coming up. So, there we go. It looks like we have, is that him? Oh, I thought it was... Oh, yeah, it's there we go. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? She said we're the best. She knows what's up. She knows we're the best.
I mean, she's a doctor. She's smart.
Yeah.
How are you not going to listen to a doctor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would take her word for it. We're the best. We're every place that you can kind of find podcasts, right?
Yeah, and I mean we're interactive with the people that check into the live streams. Like we'll take questions on Instagram and stuff, but sometimes they get lost. But when you're in the live chat, like I'll see your question, I'll ask Mark, or he'll see it on Instagram, and it's like, yeah, I mean there's people that line up at the Arnold for hours to come say what's up to you. Like, dude, you can do it right here, right now. Like almost every single day, you can interact with Mark Bell.
That's right. Yeah, you might as well come over and say what's up and let us know your experiences with the products. Let us know your experiences with your workouts. Let us know where you're at. Let us know your goals. Like, come over here and just...
Yeah, and it's just the cost of just hanging out with us.
That's it.
That's it.
That's not a big deal. Anyway, we appreciate you guys and keep spreading the word. Strength is never weak. This weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.